The Timberborn 1.0 release is here, and it is time for another episode of More Thoughts. Now, before we jump into this, I had the 1.0 version for about 1.5 weeks before the release, and also I have never played Timberborn in early access. That means I cannot give you any information about the things which basically changed through the early access versions. If you are looking for something like that, you have to find that somewhere else. But with that said, let's get to it. When you were first starting up Timberborn, you see the beavers all running over your city, or, well, what used to be your city, and you might think, oh, this is a cutesy little game, right? Just taking care of some beavers, and it will be a very chill experience with, well, unfortunately, a lot of shallow gameplay mechanics. Good news, that's not the case. Timberborn is a real city builder and management game with tons of different gameplay mechanics which just click. And yes, you were starting to play with one of the two beaver factions, but the thing is, you're not just living in a normal world, you are living in the world after the apocalypse, right? Humanity has finally managed to nuke themselves from the face of the earth, and you are now playing, well, mutated beavers, and you're living in that world. That means that everything else around you did go to shit, and you don't really have a lot of chance to survive. But good news, you found a place. This could be your haven, and you were starting to build. And like in a lot of building games, you were starting with you need food, you need shelter, you need water. And yes, even though at the beginning it feels a bit like a survival game, it's not. It's not one of those survival builders, let's say like Frostpunk, where you have to make tough decisions every day and you are losing more and more people. No. When you are losing beavers, it's because you made mistakes. It's because you ignored clearly issues which were jumping into your face and telling you for weeks, like, hey, dude, we need food. Like, you want to give us food? Come on, man. We have been without food for 3 days. There is tons of berries and tons of other things here on the map. Just give it to us, right? It is your fault when something really bad happens to the beaver, which is not dying of old age, because yes, beavers are being born and beavers can die of old age in this game. And how do you get more beavers? Well, to make them happy, or at least with the first faction. We will talk about the Iron Teeth, which is the second faction, a little bit later. But in the first faction, it's pretty simple. You need to give them shelter. You have to keep them happy. And when they have those two things, they're starting to reproduce, and you are getting more beavers you can then utilize to continue to build your city. But really building that city which is working has a lot of mechanics which will then give you the resources you need to expand your city and so on and so forth is your prime objective. And when you have finally managed that a little bit, depending of course on the difficulty you are playing on, you will face natural disasters. And the natural disasters are really what makes this game so different and interesting because, as I mentioned before, well, humanity has nuked the planet, and that means nature is also hurt and does sometimes not so great stuff. Like the first thing you have to face are droughts. Pretty straightforward. Basically, all of the water sources on the map stop working for a certain amount of days or weeks, and you need water reservoirs. You need areas where you can just save water and prepare it for the droughts which are coming. And that means you have to do what? Yeah, that's right, you're a beaver. You have to build dams. And later on, much more complicated dams and much more complicated waterways. But you are starting out with dams, which will make it so that the water is not flowing away, right? And that you always have a little bit of a reservoir somewhere. But as I said, later on, you will get more complicated ways of controlling the water flow on the map, and you need that because there is a second natural disaster which can hit you, and that is the total opposite of a drought. It's a bad water flood. What does that do? Well, the waterways on your map are still functioning. They are still giving you water, but it's now all contaminated water. And that's the last thing your city needs. That's the last thing your beavers need. So you have to make sure that that never reaches your clean water. And that means you have to redirect the water. Or, well, you have to wait till the event is over and then you can hopefully slush all of the bad water which has accumulated, but that probably also means your beavers got affected and they have to be cured, which also takes a lot of resources and a lot of time. So, something you really want to avoid. But those events keep you on your toes, right? Like, without those events, the game would be super chill, right? There wouldn't be any moments where you're like, okay, have I prepared? Have I managed everything correctly? And then the game is testing you. And well, if you did, cool. If you didn't, you will not lose automatically. Like, you would definitely get damaged, let's call it that. And then the game gives you the chance, hopefully, to recover from this and to learn and not to make that mistakes again. Like, I really realized for myself that Timberborn is very much a learning experience, right? It's this, you're making mistakes, they will cost you a little bit or not, but you can rectify that. The game is always giving you a chance to just fix your mistakes. And I love that so much about Timberborn. And then, of course, let's be honest here, just looking at your beavers running around all town is always cutesy. But yeah, like there are tons of gameplay mechanics in this game. Later on, you can even do terraforming with dynamite and change the whole landscape even more. And I think the most impressive and interesting part is really physics, especially the water physics, because that means you can make the water work for you if you're utilizing it right. Not at the beginning, you don't have to think about that. Like what I'm talking about when it comes to controlling the water on the map is coming like 20 hours into the game. Before that, you don't have to think about it. Speaking about not thinking about it, let's talk about the second faction, the Iron Teeth. So to unlock them, you have to reach a 15 happiness in your city, and then you get the Iron Teeth. And the Iron Teeth have, of course, a lot of buildings which are similar to your first faction, but they are playing quite differently because they are more like the industrialists. They are loving technology and they don't necessarily care too much for nature. Just to give you a simple example here, they are not reproducing, they have vats, right? They're basically cloning themselves. That's how much they believe in technology, and that's how much they're not really caring for nature. It's just they're doing everything themselves. So they are playing quite differently, and that also means even more gameplay, even more hours to play this game. Like, if you would have only the first faction available to you, a round would easily take 100 or 200 hours, one round, one map. But because of the two factions with all the different maps and yes, mods, mod support has been in the game for quite some time, and there are tons of good mods out there. And a lot of those, oh, you know what? I wish that Timberborn would have this feature, and the answer will probably be there's a mod for that. So that's pretty cool. What's also cool or insane, and I'm too stupid for that, is they have now built in automation. And automation allows you, well, exactly what you think, automate a lot of the buildings in the game so you don't have to click on your dam or some floodgates and then tell them to open up when the water gets too low. Or if there is too much bad water in the system, the floodgates will close down so that it doesn't contaminate your good water places, right? And you can do that. That's pretty straightforward and pretty simple to do. But they even allow you with an API to basically contact a server outside of the game and then let that do something in the game. And if you're asking me, huh, how does that work? What does it do? Look, that goes completely over my head. I'm not smart enough for that. I completely admit it. There are tons of videos already out there on YouTube explaining you exactly how you can set that up, and it's pretty insane and crazy that they are doing that. Do you need it? No. No, I haven't touched automation really at all in the 50 hours of gameplay I've been putting into the game at this point. And yeah, just nah, you don't. You really don't. I know. But it is there if you want to. And I can just say, like, that game is a joy. I did a first playthrough on my streaming channel. Started that about 2 weeks ago. And I didn't know what I'm doing. And now the game has released, and even my first city looks decent, right? Even with all the chaos being there, it just looks cool and it gives me this feeling of accomplishment. And yes, could I have improved a lot of stuff there? Absolutely. I'm planning already the next playthrough. And but I can see that I have achieved something and I have fought for that without having to stress myself out that all the beavers will die at the end of the day because, it's a survivor game, which it isn't. So, do I recommend Timberborn 1.0? Wholeheartedly. Like, that game is just a joy to play, to make mistakes, to learn from it because the game allows you to do those mistakes. And I have seen no performance issues, no bugs, no crashes. Like, the game just is a game to let you have fun. And they achieved exactly that. Timberborn is now available in 1.0 on Steam. And as I said, I got the 1.0 early access version about 1.5 weeks before the game came out. So, yeah, I would definitely now go back to play even more Timberborn. And if you're a new player, definitely make sure to keep an eye out for some Timberborn games and guides here on the channel, also live streams if you want to come in and learn with me. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like. If you still have some questions or thoughts, let me know down below in the comments, but be civil about it. And if you enjoyed this review, if you enjoyed Timberborn, or if you just love strategy, management, and building games, you came to the right channel, and I would appreciate if you might consider to subscribe. With that said, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe. Bye bye.